Hello and welcome to the program. I am Deji. Now, more Nigerians are still setting goals for the Muhammadu Buhari-led administration as it begins a second term in office. No doubt, the issue of security is a major aspect that is calling for significant improvement. Over the past 4 years, the country has seen a rise in kidnapping cases, now banditry, farmers' herders crisis in different parts of the country. And of course, the Boko Haram insurgency is yet to be completely dealt with. A recent report released by a non-profit think tank, Nigeria Security Tracker, revealed that at least 25,794 Nigerians may have died in violent crisis between 2015 and 2019. The report claims that Borno State in the northeast of Nigeria suffered the highest casualties, with more than 9,000 deaths recorded within the period under review, followed by Zamfara State in northwest Nigeria with 1,963 deaths, and Adamawa State in northeast with 1,529 deaths. Boko Haram is said to be responsible for 5,998 of the recorded deaths, while sectarian violence, including the herders crisis, now led to, that's according to the report, now led to 4,917 deaths. And state actors, including the military, were said to have killed 4,068 people within the period under review. Now, directly tied to the problem of insecurity and the wave of violence affecting some parts of this country is the illicit flow of small arms and light weapons. The amount of small arms and light weapons flowing into Nigeria would appear to have reached unprecedented level. It's a very disturbing issue, and surely what is fueling the violence and kidnap for ransom we currently ravaging parts of Nigeria. Just recently, the police special tactical squad made a series of arrests, which of course led to the recovery of a huge haul of small arms and light weapons. Let's take a listen now to the spokesperson of the police make the announcement of those massive recoveries.
We have a gang of criminals who specializes in bringing into this country prohibited weapons. Our determination to curb the proliferation of light arms and to snuff energy out of the criminals, knowing fully well that without weapons, most of the crimes that are taking place in Nigeria will not take place. The Nigerian police have to review its operational strategy to target the illicit proliferation of arms and go after recognized persons who are actually illegally bringing these weapons into the country.
Now, the debate over the creation of state police is also heightened in recent months with the rising insecurity across parts of Nigeria. And in response to this, the Presidential Panel on SARS reform now has recommended the creation of state and local government police. Although President Buhari has promised to fully implement the recommendations of the committee, he's made it clear that he is yet to decide on the issue of the creation of state police. And besides, it's actually not the responsibility, of course, I have to make that clear. It's not the sole responsibility of the president actually to approve the creation of state police. That is a constitutional matter and has to go through parliament. So we're talking about a constitutional amendment process here. So it's wrong for people to begin to think the president can single-handedly make a pronouncement creating state or local government police. It doesn't work like that. That is not the way it's done in Nigeria. The National Assembly would have to be involved, and not just the National Assembly. The state assemblies of the various states, of course, would have to be involved, because that would be a constitutional amendment process. And we are now being joined on the program by Colonel Hassan Stan-Labo, who is a retired military officer and a security expert, to discuss the current insecurity challenge now confronting the country and what the government needs to do over the next 4 years now to ensure that, well, these whole issues addressed. Thank you very much, Colonel, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Quite worrying times, no doubt. No doubt you saw the recovery made by the police there. It's no doubt doing its best, but it appears this problem is overwhelming.
I agree with you, Deji. Quite apt, you know. The security situation like it is now, despite all what the security agencies and the military is doing, I'm sorry to say we continue to witness progressively a degeneration into a situation of total anarchy. Like you rightly said, I think we are getting overwhelmed. We must paint the picture the way it is. We are getting overwhelmed. The security agencies are doing their very best. We listen to the PRO, you know, and all what is displaying there to us. Of late, I must say, especially with the present IG, the police are doing a wonderful job and they must be encouraged. The military, on the other hand, as far as the Northeast is concerned, they are also trying their very best. So the issue there now is, what is the situation? The situation, as it is on ground now, is that, look, even though all these agencies and the military are doing their very best, these criminals, as far as I'm concerned, are coming up from every angle such that we are beginning to be overwhelmed. So what is the solution? The solutions might lie in both short terms and long terms. First and foremost, we must see how we address what I call the 5 imperatives, which, if adequately taken care of, to a greater extent, would change the narrative. We can't keep talking about changing the narrative without addressing the nuances around the narrative.
And what are these 5 imperatives?
The 5 imperatives are: 1, funding; 2, manpower; 3, equipment and logistics; 4, training; and 5, welfare.
Manpower,
funding, equipment and logistics.
Let's face it, the police
Yes.
is underfunded, the military also underfunded, and manpower.
Completely, our defense and security sector is underfunded. And we must begin to, not just talking about overhauling the entire system, but re-strategizing. We have to sit down and re-strategize on how we fund the defense and security sector of
Yet
this
we
country.
have some people who complain that the defense appears to be getting too much.
Out of ignorance.
We bought for
My brother, out of ignorance. Whatever you say you're buying, call it, you spent $1 billion and so on. All those are chicken feed. Now let me look at the funding issue and the alternatives I have in mind.
Okay, good.
We must begin to look outside the budget in funding our defense and security agencies. If you leave it to budgetary allocations, it means your defense and security sector will continue to compete with other vital sectors for the peanuts placed on the table called budget. And what are those vital sectors? Of course, health, education, and so on. So what we do is that besides the pittance you give defense and security in your budget, look outside the budget. We must bring in the general public to assist us. We must be able to cultivate the participation of wealthy organizations like the IOCs, the international oil companies within amongst us, the banks that are declaring billions upon billions every year. What stops them from giving us 1% of your after-tax
like a security
profits?
trust fund that
As a security trust fund,
like some
under
like
a
Lagos
security
actually has.
trust fund arrangement like we have in Lagos State. Okay? We must see how these people donate into the entire fund and so on. We must see how each and every individual, whether you earn 5,000 naira per month, you contribute as you earn. If I'm earning 5,000 per month, my contribution might be just 5 naira. A Dangote who is earning 50 billion per month, his contribution might be 100 million. Towards such a funding, it's not compulsory, but you must, look, the president must address the nation. Manpower.
That's a big one.
That is a big one, and that's
the
why
Nigerian police, manpower.
The military, manpower.
The same thing.
Good.
Exactly.
Yes, the president has asked the police to mobilize 10,000 men.
But
you and I know that the police cannot mobilize 10,000 men under 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. How many police colleges do you have that will train the men? Mobilizing them is not catching people on the street and giving them uniforms. You take them into police colleges and train them. What's the duration of the training? It runs nearly a year. So it therefore means that you must look for other means to immediately beef up the strength to meet what is going, because the criminals are not waiting for you to mobilize your
Absolutely not.
Good. So what is my solution? We must fall back to our reservists. Look at the army, for instance. All those who have retired within the last 5 years, I'm referring to the other ranks, not officers like us, who have enough officers to command the men. Recall all people from your reserve list. Quickly. We are in a war, I said.
And do we have a record of the reservists?
Blow the trumpets, they will fall in. I know what I'm saying. Blow the trumpet, make good incentives. People will form up. If you are paying that reserve list 5 million, for instance, I'm just, on the lighter mood. People will form up. Then you check those whom you think are still medically fit, not people who are putting on weight like us. Those you think can still come in by virtue of age and so on. We shall be able to mobilize thousands of people into the military. We are in a war. Are we saying if Nigeria were to be fighting a war now, we shall not mobilize our reserves? Is it because it's internal? Mobilize your reserve. All this is going on at the same time while your long-term program is also going on by the virtue of those you are training. In the depot NA and so on. Meanwhile, in the short term, this is what you want to do. Let them sign 3-4 years contract. I'm not saying bring them in permanently. They sign a 3-4 year contract for you with incentives, very good handsome pay, not the peanuts you are paying soldiers and those fighting at the battlefront. Because the forest needs to be infested. That is where all these things are taking place. They come to the streets, stop vehicles, kidnap people, take them into the forest where they now have complete control and dominance. We should be able to move in troops into this forest.
And that's quite right. When you have so many ungoverned places,
yes,
where you don't have, that's what you get.
That is it. Because we are a big landmass. Nigeria is really big and large, especially up north, where there is big landmass unoccupied, up north. These are the sort of things we should do, and all these places should be taken over. It's very easy for these guys to succeed up north because, look, there are villages that even when they are attacked, in the next 2-3 days, you cannot communicate to tell the nearest police post what has happened. And
then the issue of training, it's one issue I want you to talk more about now. Because it would appear that, insurgency came, at some point it appeared our military was actually not trained to deal with insurgency.
Yes, of course.
The training took place at the same time that the fighting was going on.
Yes.
I mean, same goes with our police and, not trained in fighting insurgency. I'm not so sure that they've been well trained now in dealing with kidnapping cases until now. So in terms of training, what do you think needs to happen?
Training has got to be more intensified, and more people should be exposed to the training. There are still people who are still going into the operational field without having the right training they should have. Because why? Probably there isn't enough space to accommodate them at the training institutions or whatever and so on, or the training space. I know that normally before battalions pull out, you carry out mock trainings within your unit formations and so on. But at times, I think even the duration of the training is often at times not even enough before you send these men in and so on. All we can say is that training should be more intensified, okay? And extra time and facilities created for training to expose nearly everybody to some good form of training before they go in. Now,
another important issue that the police PRO talked about is the flow of illicit weapons, small arms and light weapons. Coming into the country. And not just Nigeria. You look at the entire Sahel region, and of course the Sahel region. The Sahel region is battling that now quite seriously. Weapons flowing in, especially from troubled areas like Libya, which has become like the headquarters or the world headquarters now for the trade of illicit weapons and what have you. What can we do? Because it's becoming so easy these days to access AK-47, for instance.
Very easy. Extremely easy than I thought. Since after retirement, sincerely, living in midst of, I would say, my civilian brothers has really become an eye-opener. We have armies outside the Nigerian army, in Mufti, outside the barracks. I said armies outside the Nigerian army. At times I get marveled and wonder. I have been agitating for a national day for small arms mopping up, you know. It must come with an incentive, the way we did the amnesty thing. 2, days must be earmarked for the exercise nationwide, where you come with your GPMG, you come with your pistol, and so on. For every pistol, it is known, you collect 100,000. For every FN or Kalashnikov, you collect 200 or 300,000. For any general purpose machine gun, you collect 400,000. There must be incentives that will make the man look at his weapon again and say, I think I need this 300,000 and pick it. There has got to be incentives and a national day appointed. Maybe after the June 12th thing, you now say, okay, July 12th will be our national day for small and what's it called, light arms mop-up day, where everybody will come to submit, and these are the incentives for whatever you give. Feel free. As you give it, instantly there. I said, just the way we did that of amnesty. You don't have to go and start grumbling tomorrow that one man is holding. I'm also when you can't trust these politicians. As you give, instantly you receive either your what's it called, alert or cash. The banks are there on the table. They give you 100,000 or 200,000, and you go home. By the time you reach home, your neighbor sees actually you're home with 200,000. They will pick their weapon and go.
Colonel, let's just quickly take a short break, and when we come back, we'll try to round up this segment. We'll take a short break now, and the program will be right back. On DEJE 360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country. I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly. God forbid that I go to join that
DEJE 360, providing clarity to issues. All right, welcome back. And if you've just joined us, we're discussing the state of insecurity in the country and what needs to be done. And I have Colonel Hassan Stan-Labo with me here, who is a retired military officer. Colonel, thank you very much for your contribution so far. But very quickly now, going forward, what do you need? What do you think needs to begin to happen now to quickly address this security, especially the issue of kidnapping, for instance? I mean, you look at the number of deaths we've had, as reported by that think tank now, the number of deaths we've had, especially in the northwest of the country. It appears Zamfara, for instance, is a kidnapping capital of Nigeria today. So what needs to happen to address this? Because even the president's home state too has not been spared anyway.
Even his relations.
Yes.
Well, first and foremost, let me say, I want the Commander-in-Chief to be highly decisive in his pronouncements. Having said that, we've talked about the 5 imperatives, so let me know if I flogged that. One other aspect which needs to be taken care of as far as these issues are concerned, our borders. The time has come for us to put in place an elite border protection force.
Can you do that when you consider the massive border we have? The border is massive. Thousands of kilometers.
I said protection force. I did not say we should build walls. You have a
and
protection force that would engage, a protection force that would engage in patrols, well equipped with surveillance technology, with surveillance techs. Mention it. It will have its air wing and so on.
And that's true.
I said elite. I use the word elite, an elite border patrol or border protection force with a patrol wing and everything. They will work in conjunction or, yes, synergize with the customs, immigration, the army, and so on. They cut across in their synergy.
Because at the moment it appears that is the function of policing the border is just left in the hands of the Nigerian customs and immigration. And sometimes you have the military there.
The responsibility at the border is so high that it cannot be shared with the customs, with custom responsibilities.
And of course you would know what you're talking about because you've worked in the borders before.
Okay? This is a body that will have superb surveillance equipment that will be able to detect as you pass with a trolley carrying a bag of rice and we know there is a pistol in it, which is very common at the border. All those small boys you see packed and you think, oh, they are just looking for their daily bread. Included in their daily bread is the pistol the man is moving to the next customer. And he picks up his ransom for it. Such surveillance or such equipment will be able to detect instantly that there is a metal in that bag, which we are calling a rice bag or a granite bag or a maize bag or whatever. It's a metal. And so the security man just stands there and he hears the beeping. The closer you come, the higher the noise and so on until he gets into you. There are all these well-trained police dogs, which some of them use. So at times, even if the equipment is not working, the dog already is sniffing metal. Dogs have 100,000 sniffing capacity better than man. That's why when you leave your office, which is 5 kilometers away, and you hop into your car, you're approaching home, your dog is already wagging his tail at home. He knows my master is coming. And the more you approach home, the more your smell is enhanced in his senses. So before you are horning at the gate for your gate man to open, he knows who is horning already. So you use all these dogs. It costs money to maintain all these things. We must invest in security.
And I think you have
After
you have a strong point.
9/11,
we should have a border patrol.
We need it,
Force,
an independent body of its own, with its air wing, I said. Elite crop of men, well trained in some of the best areas, Israel or whatever. Well trained men who can live off the land. There is this training we do in DEJE. If you are part of the Special Forces element, we do this 3 days living off the land, where you are dumped somewhere in a forest with your compass to move from point to point and so on. 3 days, no resupplies to you and so on. You survive from the snakes and lizards and so on, which you kill, make your fire, eat them, and so on. That's how you survive. At times, it's a 1 week training.
We do that.
Yes,
It's
yes,
good.
yes.
Good to know.
We have it here in DEJE, and we have sound men who can give us this training. The Nigerian army is good. I know what I'm saying. That's why I'm surprised at what I'm saying. We have a sound army, very capable. Very capable. And there are some retired hands with all these capabilities out there. Who now, if we are expanding training facilities, these are some of the people you call back.
Call back.
Good jumpers and so. Most of our men are leaving for the U.S. Army. Oh, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. What are we doing? This country is big. We cannot downplay our might. We cannot downplay our might. There was a time in this country where our defense might was being used as a tool, as an instrument in projecting our foreign policy.
That's true.
There was a time, I don't know if that time is still.
Not anymore.
There was a time. Such that when Nigeria speaks in AOU, in then, not AU now, in OAU then, and there is a voting, every of these little countries look in the direction of Nigeria and see where you are voting. That's where they'll vote to. Just like what happens in the UN. You dare vote against the US over a very serious issue. They will know how to deal with you. They know how to deal with you. All they need is withdraw 1 or 2 things. Little things you are enjoying from them. Next time when you want to vote, you will look in their direction. We were like that. Those days when Joe Garba was in the UN. Those days when great species like Africa has come of age from Murtala. Where is this Nigeria? Where are we?
It's a very serious issue.
Oh my God.
It's really, really serious.
So that force, we need it. That border patrol force, we need it. And it must be constituted by people who have enough experience in what goes on at the borders. Not people who have lived in air conditions in Ikoyi all their lives. Then you bring the man to border and every day he's doing like this, he's killing mosquito instead of telling us what's happening there. We need people who can run the place. And we've got them. We've got them all over the place.
Wow.
Sound good, rugged men who can turn things around. We can't continue to shout, let's change the narrative. The nuances around the narrative must be changed before you change the narrative. We must sit up. We are sinking. We are sinking every day. We must tell ourselves some bitter truth. We are sinking security-wise every day until we learn to sit up.
And if we don't get it security-wise, I mean, we can't have a peaceful country.
If you don't have security, you can't have development.
Can't have development.
That's why I'm telling you that we are at war. A lot of people don't know we are at war. This country is at war now. So pull out your reservists. If it gets to a point where after pulling out reservists, we still need more hands and so on, we see how we can immediately begin to get some young men. I don't want to use the word conscription, no. But we encourage people to come in and protect their motherland before it is overtaken by hoodlums.
Let's hope it doesn't happen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Colonel, for coming on the program, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. I mean, quite valid points you have made. Very, very valid. And let's just hope something is done. Thanks for your time. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. On DEJE 360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dullards that call themselves governors in this country?
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that ballot.
DEJE 360, providing clarity to issues.